Bánh bao đây, bánh bao nóng hổi, thơm ngon đây đây đây.
Hello and welcome to our podcast. My name is Alan.
And my name is Jay.
And today we are talking about speaking part 1.
Well, it's the easiest part.
Well, it's supposed to be the easiest part, but it's very easy to answer wrong.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of different question types, and if you don't have a strategy for them, then maybe you can get them wrongly.
You might answer the wrong question.
So let's get to it.
So in part 1, the examiner chooses questions very carefully to test your vocabulary and grammar response to different question types.
So there can be a question about preference,
about daily routines,
your past experience,
about your opinion,
or maybe some hypothetical situations.
So now we're going to look at some example questions. We'll look at what you should not do, and then we'll go through a strategy on how to answer these questions correctly.
Okay, so the first type of question is your personal preference.
An example question: do you prefer living in a house or a flat?
Yeah, so when students hear do you, are you, they often respond immediately with yes or no. And is it wrong?
Yeah, the key word here in the question is or. Do you like A or B? So you can't answer yes. You need to say which one you like the most, which one you prefer.
So it's very simple. You can just say I prefer living in a house, or I prefer living in a flat, or living in a house would be a better choice for me, something like that.
So yeah, give a clear position. The next strategy is to explain why you have that position. So yeah, I prefer living in a house because I like to have more space.
Or I'd like to live in a flat because it has a better view.
And then finally, the final part of the strategy is to give an example. You know, I prefer living in a house. I like to have more space. For example, houses usually come with a garden, and I love gardening.
And you can actually do some modifications to the house.
Yeah, and then you could compare that to a flat, and I prefer a house. It has more space compared to a flat where I think it's quite difficult to have guests come over when you don't have a lot of space.
Okay, so the second question type is to talk about your daily routine.
So here the examiner is asking you to talk about what you usually do or your habit.
So I have an example here. How do you usually spend your weekends?
So the wrong strategy here is to talk about the past. The examiner isn't asking you about the past. But students often hear the word spend and they think, oh, this is the past. So, last weekend I spent my time with my wife at the beach.
So a correct strategy here is to use the present simple tense. You have to organize your answer as well if you are going to talk about many activities on the weekends.
For example, usually I wake up quite late and then I go to the gym, and then often I will have lunch with my wife, and then it's quite rare that my wife will cook. Usually I'm the one that cooks the lunch.
Yeah, and finally, maybe you can contrast your weekday and your weekend. So yeah, on weekdays I usually have to work, so I don't have really much time to for myself. But on the weekends, I can relax, I can sleep in, and then talk about some other activities.
So the next question type is about past experiences.
Yeah, so in this type of question, you need to explore past events, your memories, or some changes over time.
So the example question is, has your hometown changed since you were a child?
Well, the wrong strategy here is to not pay attention to the word has. So it's present perfect. Students usually just use past simple or present simple. So they can answer something like my hometown changes, or my hometown is changed. Those are actually incorrect.
So the correct strategy is to answer the question directly. Yes, it has changed a lot.
and then you can talk about the past and then compare it to the present.
For example, in the past, there were more fields, and now many houses have been built. So we're hitting that target for the present perfect.
All right, so the next question type is opinion based or observation based.
So these questions are asking you to talk about observations that you've made about your country or the culture in your country.
Mm-hmm. So I have an example here. What are the most popular hobbies in your country?
So the wrong strategy would be to just list lots of hobbies that you know. People like sport, people like football, badminton, cricket, tennis,
Peekaboo.
pickleball. And what students need to do is to give a few examples and show the reasons for those observations.
Mm-hmm. Well, an example would be okay. So I think football is the most popular hobby in Vietnam. And the reason that I know it is because I can see a lot of kids playing this sport outside my house, or whenever I go to the park, I can see a group of people doing so. And then you can talk about another hobby, right? Another one where I think is very popular is, then you continue to talk about it. But remember to keep reasons.
And examples, yeah. And to really answer this question, we can compare different demographics, different genders or different ages. You know, a lot of old people in Vietnam, they really like to dance to old music in the park, whereas the young people like to play pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
So in this section, we are going to answer those questions. We'll give you a wrong answer and then we'll give you a right answer.
Okay, so do you prefer living in a house or a flat?
Yes, I like living in a house.
Okay, so I prefer living in a house because I have lived in both, and I think living in a flat has some drawbacks. Like it's usually flats are usually smaller, and you have to pay service fees every month. Living in a house allows you to have maybe a garden, and if you like planting trees, that would be a wonderful life.
So the next question is, how do you usually spend your weekends?
Last weekend I went to the cinema with my wife.
So a better answer is, I usually spend my weekends with my wife. For example, last weekend I went to the beach and we had dinner after that. Yeah, I also often spend weekends with my friends too, because during the week I'm really busy. I don't really get to see my friends, and then on the weekend that's the time when I can really spend time to hang out and try to relax. Mhm.
So the next question is, has your hometown changed since you were a child?
Yes, many changes, very different.
All right. So a better answer would be, yes, I think there has been a lot of changes. Well, back when I was a kid, when I was living there, probably when I was 23 years old, there weren't a lot of tall buildings and the roads were actually narrower. But now, as I revisit my hometown, I often see buildings being constructed or roads being widened. So I think, yeah, there have been some good changes.
Next question. What are the most popular hobbies in your country?
There are many. Football, badminton, pickleball, going jogging, studying.
A long list. So a better answer is to say there are many popular hobbies in my country. As it's a cold country, people tend to do a lot of indoor sports like indoor football or badminton. In the summer, however, people do like to get outside. They like to go fishing. Hiking is a great sport, is a very popular sport in my country. hmm
Okay, so we go on to the final question. Would you go into space?
Yes, I will. I will go to space.
Wow, you can do it. All right, it's better to give a hypothetical answer, right? So it's better to use conditional to. Yes, I think I would because it would be a once in a lifetime experience for pretty much anyone. Well, thinking about it now, I think it would be a little bit difficult, given the fact that I would have to pay a fortune to, be in a rocket and go into space. But I think if it was easy, then I would.
Right, that is the end of our podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed our tips and strategies on answering part 1 questions.
Yay! Okay, so remember to like and subscribe and follow us for the next episode.
See you soon.